So, My Hero Academia Manga Chapter 103 has officially released on the Shonen Jump app, and let me just say this, the setup for the final fight between Koichi and number 6 is about to begin. Not the actual fight, specifically the setup to the fight that happens in this chapter, and I can't wait to talk about it right after this intro. Hey guys, how's it going? It is your boy, Big Blue Drew 97 here, coming at you with another My Hero Academia Vigilantes Manga Chapter 103 review titled Inhumanity. Oh, the inhumanity that is number 6 because he's basically not human. Yeah, that's definitely what this chapter is referring to number 6. But yeah, when it comes to this chapter, as I said at the beginning of this video, this chapter is basically the setup for number 6 versus Koichi, and basically the situation that goes on after the end of chapter 102, because we've been waiting 3 weeks for this. It's been a long wait, but I'm glad that we're here, and I'm really excited to review this chapter. But before we actually do that, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't done so, to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Big Blue Drew 97 and do My Hero Academia content, talk about Vigilantes when it comes out, and do reviews of it. So if that's something that you're interested in, subscribe to this YouTube channel, because Vigilantes is about to come to an end, and I can't wait for you to watch me review this until the very end. So without the way, let's get started. So we start this chapter off with sort of a continuation of what happened last chapter. Number 6 got arrested. Detective Tsukachi is there to arrest him, and we get the reveal that he isn't just handcuffed with normal handcuffs, that they are stun functioning handcuffs. So basically number 6 is under arrest, and you know what, that's the end of the story. Number 6 goes to jail. He gets the death penalty, and Koichi as well as Popstep live happily ever after. Unfortunately, that is what I wish did happen, but unfortunately that is not what exactly happened, because as soon as he got caught, Detective Tsukachi basically asked for midnight, as you got number 6 realizing, oh, if midnight comes here, I can't use overclock anymore, and because it means that my brain won't be functioning and I can't focus on my thoughts, and blah 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 blah, as we get the title chapter of this chapter, which is Inhumanity, where from here we basically get a just inner dialogue and inner understanding of what number 6 is thinking in this moment. But actually, before he does that, we get to see that number 6's arm begins to fall out of the cuffs, and then he begins to melt. And then he begins to do breathing exercises that Detective Tsukachi recognizes. So yeah, if you didn't realize what's happening, number 6 escaped, and not only did he escape his bondage of the cuffs, and is about to go on a rampage using his overclock quirk, which from here we get to see number 6 in his full glory using his quirk, as he basically like melts into like just a puddle of flesh and muscle, as he basically begins to taunt Detective Tsukachi. I don't know why I want to call him Doctor. It's Detective, as he begins taunting Detective Tsukachi by saying that he's too slow, and how most of his body is made of the bomber cells, which means that he basically has full control over his body based off his brain, and that he was able to basically like dislocate his arms, and now he's able to rebuild them, weirdly enough, also with his clothing as well, meaning that his clothing is also made of the bomber cells. So yeah, he's basically just telling him that he's about to get his job done, and his job would include killing the detectives, as well as he taunts Tsukachi about how if he really wanted him dead, that he should have aimed for the head. Hey! Infinity War / Endgame reference. Yeah, but I mean, in all honesty, you probably should have aimed for the head. All of you should have killed him. But then you're police officers, and killing isn't right. But you know, when you're dealing with a villain this bad that can literally like blow people up, probably should have aimed for the head. But it's fine, because we also get more dialogue inside of number 6, as well as the imagination of O'Clock, which I think we get a confirmation of what's going on between O'Clock and number 6, and I'll get to that when we get to that. But number 6 is basically just taunting Detective Tsukachi, as well as like when you have this illusion of O'Clock basically telling him that he needs to be careful of Soga because he's still there. But number 6 is like, oh no, it's fine, he's not gonna shoot at me. There are people around here, as we get to see that number 6 is like, all right, this has been fun and all, but I think it's time to administer the death penalty to y'all morons. And as we see that his arm or his fist begins to glow with the bomber cells as he's about to activate an explosion, he's about to kill Detective Tsukachi. Oh my gosh, he's gonna die. Wait 1 second, this takes place before the beginning of My Hero Academia. If he dies here, then how is he going to be alive in the beginning of the series? He's immortal. No, in actuality, what actually happens is Koichi shoots number 6 in the face with, you know, his shooty go blam. Still hate that name. But what is very interesting about this is that he's able to hit number 6 with his shooty go blam, which, if you remember what happened last chapter, because he's able to hit him with that attack, and it's as powerful as like a normal fist punch, he's able to get number 6 off guard, so he's unable to focus on using overclock, which causes him to basically not be able to move as fast as he can, and he has to begin blocking these quirks, meaning that he has to retreat. Now, he's basically being beat back by this quote-unquote whippy attack as he disappears into the shadow, as everyone is trying to say he fled, as everyone is confused about what's happening, specifically Koichi, who's like looking, is like, did y'all see that speed? As like we have Detective Tsukachi basically asking Crawler for the favor. And this is something very interesting because the Crawler was able to react to the situation faster than Detective Tsukachi as well as these other police officers. And this could be specifically because he's been training as a hero, or maybe it could be something that is tied to his quirk. Maybe the reason why he's able to do all of this is because he's able to do somewhat similar things to what Overclock does. That for him to be able to fire off all of these attacks, it must like require like a lot of like cognitive like thinking manipulation for him to be able to detect it, or he's just extremely trained himself to be able to like see O'Clock, overclock, number 6 with as fast as he's able to move. So at the very least, this kind of shows that Koichi isn't as much as in a disadvantage as we possibly believe, because he has the capability of tracking the location of number 6 when he is moving with overclock. So that's something very interesting, as well as we get Detective Tsukachi basically asking Koichi for a favor. And what is that favor? Oh, we're gonna have to continue reading to find out. Okay, so from there, we basically get the next few pages where we're basically getting a better understanding of what number 6 is going to do after he has retreated. He now knows the layout of the hospital. He now thinks that he needs to regroup, and he now needs to know that he needs to get rid of the officers that are in the building. So he sends some anonymouses in there to try and get rid of them. But he also comes to realize that he has to deal with Soga, as well as potentially the backup that he has in the area. And while he's thinking about all of this, and he's saying all of this, and how he's arguing with O'Clock about what he should be doing, on whether or not he should use the anonymous on the backup, you have Rapt and Moyoru just sitting in the bushes, just looking at each other, and they both are having the thought of like, oh, does he mean get rid of whoever else? Is it referring to us? And you have Moyoru saying, I don't know, but who is he talking to? As we also get the reveal that Koichi has jettisoned off away from the hospital, to the surprise of both Rapt, Moyoru, and even number 6 himself. And the one thing that I really want to focus on in this moment is the conversation that Rapt and Moyoru have, because they're basically saying that number 6 is talking to himself. And that's very interesting, because as we see that he's talking to himself, he's using both himself as number 6, as well as he looks as if he's like also talking to Sensei at the same time. But from how you're seeing it from the outside, it just looks like he's talking to himself, but it's not like he's like just talking to himself like, yeah, I need to do this. No, I can't do that. No, I have to do this. It's not like he's talking to himself and no one is responding. Someone is responding, and it's himself, but he's doing it as his sensei, as O'Clock. And I think this may be the confirmation of what the O'Clock image is. It's like a physical manifestation of number 6 literally talking to himself. Any moment that he's talking with like o'clock, it's not actually o'clock. It's not like the consciousness of o'clock and overclock the quirk. It's because number 6 is literally crazy and he's talking to himself and he's created this imaginary o'clock in his mind to talk to, and that's because he looked up to o'clock when he was that little animal thing when he gave himself the scar. And this is like very interesting and very impactful because from the beginning we always thought that possibly that o'clock was actually inside of number 6 and was actually talking to him and actually giving him advice, and that was kind of weird since we know that o'clock is Knuckle Duster, and Knuckle Duster isn't the type of person that will work with him because he's objectively a villain, as well as when we learned that consciousnesses can rely inside of quirks once they've been passed on. We thought that it could have been that o'clock was inside of overclock, but in actuality that may not be the case, and even if o'clock is inside of overclock inside of number 6, he may not have access to him. So if anything, this just shows that number 6 is just crazy, and anytime he was talking to o'clock, he was talking to himself because he's crazy, and that makes a lot more sense than o'clock potentially being evil. So yeah, that's something interesting, and I'm actually glad that we finally get that confirmation in this chapter. But from there, we also get to see something also impactful, as we see Koichi is apparently running away, and this is something that is shocking to both Rapt, Mayoru, and number 6 especially. And then from here, we get a mini flashback to what Detective Tsukachi basically asked the Crawler. He basically asked him to be a messenger to go and get All Might, which makes sense because he basically has the ability to fly, so it makes sense that you would send him to go and get All Might to try and save the day. And as Koichi basically asks like what they're going to do about it, the Detective Tsukachi is like, oh no, we're fine, we can handle this, as we see that the Crawler has jettisoned himself away from the situation. And as this is all happening, we have number 6 most likely talking to himself as o'clock, who's basically saying like, oh yeah, this guy, he's going to the messenger, he's probably gonna go get a number All Might, and this is basically going to put a hard time limit for number 6. I would guess that it will probably take him 60 seconds to get here, which, you know, is plenty enough time for us to kill the primary target, Kazuno Hanayami, aka Pop Step, eliminate her, as well as get out of here successfully within the nick of time. So you know what, we're all good. As well as we are able to test the foot soldiers as well, we're all good. We can get out of here by that way. So after we have number 6 pretending to be o'clock, we get back to the original number 6, where he's basically thinking to himself and saying out loud that if what they're doing is running away, it's like he's running away from Koichi scared, as we have him once again as o'clock saying that's a trivial matter. But then we have number 6 where his true craziness comes out, where he's like, I wanted to emerge out of the shadows as the high-speed execution hero and retreat, but no, that means I'll have to slip away, and that my actions would be anonymous, and the anonymous strength is cool, but that means I'll be nameless and faceless as ever. I can't do that. That makes me mad. I want to slaughter every last one of these fools. So, you know, basically the crazy number 6 comes out, and then you have the calm number 6's o'clock thinking to himself is like, when you want to do something crazy, it renders you incapable of focusing. Your psychological state may be difficult, so I'll let you go crazy for a little bit, as we see this just menacing grin forming on number 6. But unfortunately, his escapades are going to have to come to an end real fast, because a big explosion comes down right behind him, and out of the smoke we see Koichi, who just looks up and says, hi there, as we get number 6 looking back with a huge smile, because now that Koichi's there, he has a way to release his pent-up anger and rage and craziness. End of chapter. So like I said, this chapter was basically the setup for Koichi versus number 6, and let me just say, boy was it a setup chapter. Not only did we get to see number 6, you know, being number 6 and being crazy, but we also get sort of the confirmation of like what's been going on inside of number 6's head and why o'clock is working with him. It's not that o'clock is working with him, number 6 is just crazy and pretending that o'clock is a part of him. So basically he's just talking to himself. He's talking to his crazy half that literally wants to kill everyone else, and he's in conflict with his rational half, which is still somewhat crazy, but is still more logical and rational and wants to stick to the plan and run away after the plan has been executed. So, you know, it's very interesting to see that more dichotomy inside of number 6, showing that he's literally crazy. But what is even more interesting is that we also got sort of the setup for how Koichi may stand a better chance against number 6. That even though his, like, we do know for a fact that even though he's able to release, like, low, like, shooting bursts, he does have the capability of releasing bursts that hit harder as well as faster. So we know that he can still do, like, some damage to number 6. But also we know that he has the capability possibly to be able to keep up with his speed, which is also very interesting, and we could get more elaboration on that in the next chapter. So yeah, I'm going to be really looking forward to this fight between number 6 and Koichi, because this is basically what the past like 10 or 20 chapters have been building up to. Like, ever since Koichi and number 6 met for the first time and number 6 said that he's going to kill Popstep, everything was setting up to this moment. Everything was setting up for the conflict between Koichi and number 6, and we're most likely going to get the beginning of that conflict next chapter. So overall, I would say this has probably been one of the best setup chapters, because we're immediately hopefully going to get the payoff next chapter, as soon as we get a little bit of information revealed in this chapter that could potentially like foreshadow or potentially allude to Koichi being stronger than he's actually putting on, or even stronger than he actually is, as well as getting a little bit more information about how number 6's body kind of works and how he was able to get out of this what we thought was going to be an unwinnable situation. And most likely when this all ends, Lady Midnight may be playing a role also in the downfall of number 6, since she was brought up in this chapter, but we just don't know. But when all of this fighting is over, Koichi is right there with Popstep. It's most likely that she's gonna wake up within all of this, like wake up, and Popstep is right here in the hospital, so it's most likely that she's gonna wake up, see the crawler, and they're going to have a touching reunion, and then potentially the crawler gets arrested. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on this chapter, and most likely what's going to happen next chapter. We're going to see the fight between Koichi and number 6, and it's going to hopefully be an amazing battle. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about this chapter of My Hero Academia Vigilantes for now. Hopefully you enjoyed it, hopefully you liked it, and if you did, leave a comment down below on what you thought of this chapter. Leave a like on this video if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel for more My Hero Academia Vigilantes content, as well as hit that notification bell to be notified for whenever I upload. Do all that cool jazz, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you in my next video. Goodbye!